I have children and grandchildren. I have 8 grandchildren, and I've worked in the Middle East as a UN peacekeeper. So I know firsthand what's happening in the Middle East. I'm horrified at the number of children being killed. From 91 up to the present time, as many as 1 million children have died in the Middle East as a result of US-led wars. Particularly if we take in the sanctions in Iraq during the 90s. Up to 1 million children now dead who should be alive, partly because of what we are doing here at Shannon Airport. I actually happened to find out that some US planes were landing, and I was one of the first to start monitoring here with a small group from Limerick. Over the last almost 16 years, I've been more or less doing it ever since. We eventually, at one stage, threatened that we would go on the planes and search them to prove they were carrying weapons. And at that stage, the Department of Foreign Affairs admitted they were carrying weapons.
The protests against this have been happening since 2002. There was a peace camp here back then. There were a number of significant direct actions, and for the last 8-9 years we've had peace vigils on the second Sunday of every month, unbroken.
March 2003, I took a High Court case against the government, a constitutional High Court case, now known as Horgan versus Ireland. Even though I lost most of my case in 2003, Judge Crudden ruled in the High Court that the US military going through Shannon Airport in large numbers on their way to war was and is a clear breach of international laws and neutrality. I had been told that my emails, my telephones and whatever are being monitored. I presume they are. What I'm doing is completely above board. In some respects, I want them to know what I'm doing. I want them to know that I'm here, that I am observing what's going on, and I am complaining that they are not doing what they should be doing. A US Navy C-40 transport aircraft. The number on the tail is 6694. It's been a regular visit to Shannon Airport. And if you look to the right of it, about 20 yards, there's a green army jeep, and that's an Irish Army patrol who are protecting the aircraft from peace activists who might want to search it. While the plane is still at the airport, it needs to be searched and investigated. Are you refusing to search it?
No plane search here today.
No plane search today. Is that recorded? We have a plane, a US warplane at the airport, and your name is again?
Sergeant McCabe.
Sergeant McCabe, yes, not before, yes. So Sergeant McCabe says the US warplane at the airport will not be searched today.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now we have it. Anybody here want to go search it?
It's actually very off-putting for people who are genuinely concerned about the military use of the airport, who come along, who want to support us. When you see undercover cars like this and you see police walking around paying close attention to who's there, it sometimes puts people off, because they seem to want to make people feel like they're involved in activities that are somehow illicit or illegal or wrong.
In the past, I got significant harassment from the Gardaí. I have been dragged through the courts on 5 times so far on spurious charges. As it happens in all cases, I have been found not guilty by the courts. On at least 3 occasions, I know that Gardaí, including Garda officers at sergeant level, have given false evidence in court to try and get me convicted spuriously. In 2 cases, the cases collapsed when that became obvious, in fact. But the guards involved were never charged with perjury or anything the like. Probably up to 3 million US soldiers have passed through this airport going to and from the Middle East. 7,988 planes have landed in Shannon Airport since 2008. None of them have been searched or investigated by the Gardaí. Immediately after World War II, planes had to land in Shannon to get to the United States because they didn't have the capacity to fly across the Atlantic otherwise. That no longer applies now.
As an airport authority, as local politicians, government have to take a more responsible and a more ethical attitude to the use of an airport like Shannon, which, as I said, was never designed as a military base. In effect, it's a forward operating base for the US military now. It's also trying to support and facilitate business and tourist traffic to and from the region. Those two don't mix. Those two shouldn't be allowed to mix. Having them together is putting everybody at huge risk from a security point of view.
The argument that we might lose American companies and foreign direct investment is also completely flawed. The US companies who are based here in Shannon and based in Ireland are here not for US nationalistic reasons, just the opposite. They're here to avoid paying tax in the United States. It's costing the Irish taxpayer a considerable amount of money. Somewhere in the region of €43 million has been paid by the Irish taxpayer for landing fees and overflight fees for US military aircraft because of a crazy agreement that the Irish government has with the US government, where we effectively waive all the air traffic control fees for US military planes.
Building a business model of an airport on war and the necessity for ongoing war in order to support local jobs is reprehensible, I'd have to say, in terms of a policy from government and from local politicians.
So there is no justification, even from the US military point of view, of using Shannon, except to involve a neutral country in their wars in the Middle East. So it's a deliberate ploy by the US to make us complicit in what's happening in the Middle East, and to some extent a deliberate ploy by our own governments and our Department of Foreign Affairs to involve us with the US wars in the Middle East.